Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to the return of You, Me, and the UKTC, the show in which we analyse all of the UKTC missions so you don't have to. In each episode, I'm going to be talking through the mission, and then in terms of the map, we're going to be thinking about the shooting lanes and angles. We're going to be thinking about the flow of the game and what sort of points we should be thinking about as we play this mission. And then we're also going to be thinking about what to consider when you're deploying your army. So, without further ado, let's dive in. So today we are looking at Linchpin, a pretty nice one, I would say, fairly standard. The way this is going to work is that you're going to hold your home field, hopefully, and that's going to get you 3 points. And then you're going to get 5 points for any other objective that you hold. The caveat here is that if you do not control your home field, then any other objective you are managing to control, you only get 3 victory points for. So what this does is it means it's very important to lock down your home field. Keep checking, is my OC good enough on this? Has my opponent got any opportunity to go and just, I don't know, stick some warp spiders on there and knock me off my home field? Because all of a sudden, if you allow that to happen, you let that slip, those points can start adding up. So it's really important. Yes, I am confidently holding my home field. I've made sure my opponent has got no way of achieving that, of knocking me off mine. And conversely, have I got a way of knocking my opponent off theirs? Because that's going to be really powerful if I manage to do that. So what does it look like on the battlefield? So here we go. Here is our battlefield. Now, if you haven't yet watched the video I did on this map for Purge the Foe, then please make sure you watch that one, because I'm not going to go over the same ground again in as much detail. I will mention things, but a lot of my thoughts on this particular map are mentioned in the Purge the Foe video. So if you haven't watched that, just go away, go watch that, and then come back. If you have watched it already, well done. Thank you very much. I hope you liked it. So, locking down the home field then, as we discussed last time, that if you start having big units here, or big like vehicles or tanks, people can actually start drawing lines of sight. So having like high OC tucked into this corner is great, but at the same time, there is a 9-inch gap here. If we think about where this 9-inch gap can be from the board edge, 9 is up to here. So if you allow room for a bit of a unit to land, you kind of have to have something deployed around here to stop the 9-inch. Hey, it means 6-inch deep strikes just to shoot you off it. Really powerful. So you've got to be careful, because you don't really want to be hanging out in this area to try and screen off the 6-inch or 9 inches, because this is obviously a pretty insane shooting line. So you've just got to be really careful with that. Then on top of that, whereas in Purge the Foe it wasn't as important to lock down your natural expansion, we could just keep taking our opponent off it if they were taking it. This time we do want to lock it down. Now, what you will see is that, as we've discussed previously, there is a big long shooting lane here, which means that you can't stick out things which are going to kind of cover a lot of space. Okay, so as a game plan, we need to be thinking about the fact that we have to try and work out some way of locking this down. Always try and lock down your primary. And of course, how are we going to be denying our opponent? Okay. And that is the other thing that we have to be thinking about. So we're not going to go through the shooting lanes this time, because we did that on the last one. But let's talk about the flow of the battle. As mentioned previously, a lot of what I said in the Purge the Foe video is going to be true here. This line of sight is terrifying. And so in order to put pressure on your opponent, if you construct reserve stuff so you can be threatening to bring it down onto their side of the board, that is going to be really great for you. Conversely, if they've got those sorts of things and they're putting things in strat reserve, you've then got to make sure you've got the ability to move across here and screen out. Any infiltrating units, I actually, as I've said before, I really do like this space here. Yes, of course, sometimes your opponent might just have quite simple tools to deal with it. So, for example, if I was playing Death Guard, my opponent was going, this is a very specific situation, but if my opponent was playing like, I don't know, 10 Grey Knight Interceptors in a Rhino that could just come out here, shoot in, and then fire and fade back into the Rhino, maybe deploying wouldn't be such a thing. But any opportunity where I can be here and say, come and get me, my opponent could potentially struggle to deal with this without giving me units. Especially in combat, like if you think, I don't know, jump pack intercessors deploy on the line, okay, they're going to have to move 12 to here. They're going to charge in here. It's actually going to be quite hard for them potentially to get back around into this side of the wall unless they get a bit lucky or some sort of combat genius. So this is quite a nuisance, especially if you start it just off the objective, so you don't give away overwhelming force and that sort of thing. And you're trying to draw your opponent out. You don't care about kills like in Purge the Foe. It's about trying to draw your opponent out. So again, things to lock down this objective, because again, we're trying to lock it down. That's quite hard, isn't it? Small footprint, high OC stuff is great. Vehicles are an interesting one. Like if I stick this vehicle here and I'm going to go up against the wall, just because what you will see is there is a bit of a line. Let's get a line tool here. There's a line coming down here. Okay. So actually trying to just park like one vehicle and be safe there is pretty rough, especially because, I mean, I'd have to nudge that across slightly, but then, things can land here and shoot in, and things can be here and just charge in, right? Like at the end of the day, this map is set up to have go deploy here, turn one, move up to here, turn two, charge your opponent in this part of the board quite readily. 6 inches, 6 inch movement, even. Oh, come on. Select it. Thank you. 6 inch movement from here. Okay, if I'm here and I feel like I'm reasonably safe, 6 inch gets me to there. So to get through to the other side of the wall is, we're looking at a 7 inch charge. If they're towing on and I'm here, that's kind of like 14 from your 6, so an 8 inch charge. I mean, obviously, any fast moving infantry, we all love fast moving infantry. Any sort of jump pack guys are just going to land here and charge into there. We've got the classic thing, as I keep saying in all my videos, you can just move here, come out here, charge, and if they're an inch away from the wall, who cares? I'm going to go up on the first level and punch down. So watching your opponent's deployment, seeing how they're set up, because as we keep saying, these ruins kind of push you that way, right? As soon as you're deployed here, you're very close to that objective, which means your opponent's probably the same. So if we talk about a natural expansion objective, although traditionally it would be the top left-hand one, I can actually see an argument for us swinging around to here and turning this into a Dawn of War, because you can get a reasonable amount of OC in there. It's quite hard to get shot at. And, on top of that, it means you're no longer worrying about this particular rapid ingress area. And sort of strat reserve and deep strike kind of area here. Whereas if you put a lot of your force pushing this way, not only are you open to shoot, then actually you're less likely to have forces over here. And obviously that means they've got a shot at hunting down your home field. So it's a real consideration that actually if you do load a load of stuff this side, and then you push around here and you try and make a play on locking this down here, and then just frustrate your opponent here. So again, it's an interesting one, but as always, if you kind of half and half it and you don't have a horde of an army, you're a bit screwed. Okay, so really make that decision early on. Like how much stuff are you going to? Do you have the ability to hold this down with your opponent keep putting stuff on. Obviously, if you do come across this part of the board and go, right, I'm going heavily here, that's scary for your opponent, isn't it? Because you're now attacking their home field and pushing in there. Okay. 6-inch deep strikes, again, really great on this map because there's just so much space to land in and shoot. And even in the backfield here, that's really good. And as we said, we want to try and kill our opponent. Off their home field. So just bear that in mind. In terms of getting to your opponent's home field to kind of like knock them out, it's not great. I mean, let's say you're staging up against the wall here. That's a really long way, isn't it? Like you've got to be pretty fast moving to grab that objective. There's not a great staging point nearby, even like kind of here. Again, that's another 20 inches. So it's quite hard unless you have decided to swing around and attack that way. So I guess you're going to have to make a decision, and I'd highly recommend like getting your models out, deploying, thinking about your army. Can I lock this down? Or am I actually going to have to try and make a play for here? Or am I just going to play the primary denial game? But that can be tricky across two fronts. Going second is, as we always say, probably a bit of a points advantage because, there is a potential for kind of like the extra points here at the end. That's standard. It's not as brutal as some of the other missions, but as we often say, if you go first, you're probably going to have to, maybe in this case, like turn 3, have a big push if you haven't managed to establish primary dominance already. Okay. In terms of deployment, again, it's kind of very similar to everything I said in my last video, so I'm not going to re-go over things. But all I would say is for this mission, if you just give your opponent an opportunity to put some nasty shooting units in this sort of space, there's a good chance you're just going to lose the game on the spot. So therefore, you constantly need to be thinking, is there a way, if I'm not just sticking my whole army here, and you can do, because we can go here, and yeah, there's a line of sight kind of like down this way, but it's not a great one, and if we can kind of be bundled here and swinging round, and we can push onto that side and then swing around here. So yeah, make that decision early on, think about your army. And hopefully that has helped, and I'll see you next time. Take care.